Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I am Sean Butler. Bugsy Malone is currently indisposed, so I'm doing today's video, this morning's video, from my desk. I hope you don't mind, and I hope you're all healthy and happy, doing the things you love, with the people that you love doing them with. Please do me a favor, guys, before we start this morning's Tottenham news, views, and clues update, please hit the like button for me if you enjoy the content. It really does help the channel out, and your like game has been phenomenal over the last, well, it's always been phenomenal, but recently it's just been insane. We're getting over 1,000, sometimes over 1,800 likes on videos. Absolutely mind-blowing stuff. Really appreciate the support. Hit the subscribe button as well if you haven't already. Even if you have double-checked, you still are. People keep telling me they keep getting unsubscribed through no fault of their own. Hit the notification bell and drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts on today's topics. And we've got a lot to get through, guys. 3 different transfer stories. Some of them are mind-blowingly exciting if true, but are they really true? Are they really feasible when you think about the reality of the situation? Possibly, probably not, but we're going to talk about them anyway because it's in the news and I'll bring you my views on it. We've also got some other ones that are also very interesting. Let's start with the sad news, the bad news of the day. We spoke about this yesterday. I think Sasha Tavalieri this morning has said that final agreement has been reached between Brentford and Club Bruges on a 37 million euro plus bonuses deal for Antonio NUSA. I mean, they must really, really, really like this player. I really, really, really like this player, but I've got to be honest, 37 million euros is a hell of a lot of money for an 18-year-old that doesn't even start most of the time for Club Bruges. He is a precocious talent and someone that I expect we'll see and, well, we will definitely be seeing and hearing a lot from over the next coming years if Brentford are to have anything to say about it. But he's not going to be a Tottenham player. We move on. It is what it is. And, you know, I did a video yesterday kind of saying, if not him, then who else? And as I was saying, you know, we got up the Y-Scout tool, guys, and there really isn't that many superb talents that are available that are traditional left wingers in that kind of left wing forward role, to the point where, you know, the 6th and I think 7th, according to Transfer Market, most valuable traditional left wingers in world football are Darwin Núñez and Makayo Mudryk from Chelsea. I mean, that tells its own tale of the tape. So maybe Brentford are seeing that same sort of story as well and thinking we do need a left winger, and there really isn't that many that are coming up that are affordable, that are within our price range. And so let's go for someone now and hope that his value continues to improve and appreciate over time. That he's certainly a fantastic talent. And we'll see how it goes. Good luck to him at Brentford. It's a shame. I was hoping to see him in a Tottenham shirt, but it isn't to be. But we move on. We move on, guys. Let's start with the biggest news of the day. And that is, can you read this? Are you reading this? This is from Football Insider. This is an exclusive, a Football Insider exclusive, the website that has more exclusives than Astrid Wett's OnlyFans. Bayern Munich could allow midfield ace Joshua Kimmich to depart this month, and Tottenham could make a sensational move if they fail to land Conor Gallagher, sources have told Football Insider. Sources told Football Insider that Spurs are readying a shock last-gasp bid to prize Gallagher from Chelsea before the January window closes. I'm not going to get that story up, but let me tell you that according to the reports, Tottenham have been quoted and allegedly are prepared to pay up to £80 million for Conor Gallagher. Now, if you follow this channel, you will know by now that my mind on this transfer has shifted 180. Back on the last day of the transfer window, I was very much on board with it. This is the last day of the previous transfer window in the summer. I've always been a big admirer of Conor Gallagher. I like his utility, his versatility, his work rate, you know, his effort, his desire and drive, and his professionalism, and all those things are massive ticks. And none of that stuff has changed. But as the time has passed on and the FFP stories are emerging, the PSR stories emerging, and you know that Chelsea are possibly going to find themselves in a bit of hot water regarding all of that stuff, either this summer or maybe next year, then, you know, what you don't want to do is help out one of your biggest rivals. And let's be honest, look, Chelsea are starting to tick. They are unbeaten in 7 at home. They've got themselves to a Carabao Cup final. They had a terrible last year in Todd Bowley's kind of debut year. This year hasn't started well, but under Pochettino, they're starting to find the right triggers, and they're still just one or two players probably short from really firing on all cylinders. And whilst to a lot of Chelsea fans, losing Conor Gallagher to Tottenham Hotspur would be unthinkable, to a lot of other Chelsea fans who see him through a different lens, they would love to liquidate him, especially for that sort of money, and move him to Tottenham, where we're going to help them get out of the hole financially. It would be pure profit for them. He came through their ranks. I'm no longer on board it. I'm not. And also, for what it's worth, having watched Chelsea play for the last 6 or 7 games in detail, I've seen so many weak performances from him that it's too much money. And, I personally I'd still be on board it if the number was a fraction of the number that is currently being quoted. But when we're talking about that sort of money, absolutely no chance, no way. I think Tottenham can and should be looking in other directions. And one direction, according to Football Insider at least, is Josh Kimmich. Now, I don't think I need to really sell you on Josh Kimmich. If you've been sleeping under a rock, then let me just point out he's probably top 3 defensive midfielders, number 6s in world football. I think he's absolutely insane how good he is. And he's 28 years old. He's got 18 months left on his contract. And it's believed, according to the story here, that the German giants would want between 40 and 60 million pounds that the 28-year-old leave this month. Tottenham have been in talks with Chelsea regarding a deal for Gallagher. There you go. It says it here, demanding a fee up to 80 million pounds. And Postecoglou's side have now prioritised a move for a central midfielder after signing centre-back Radu Dragusin permanently from Genoa and forward Timo Werner on loan from Leipzig. Spurs revived their interest in the England international after they lost out on Man City ace Calvin Phillips to West Ham. But Kimmich is now on their radar. The German international has been a mainstay for Thomas Tuchel's side this season, having made 26 appearances and bagging 1 goal and 6 assists across all competitions. He is regarded as one of Europe's best defensive midfielders and has scored 41 goals and provided 100 assists across 370 appearances for Bayern. Just an unbelievable output for a player who plays in the position that he has. He is also a reported target of Premier League giants Liverpool and has 18 months remaining on his contract at the 2nd place Bundesliga outfit. Tottenham sit 5th in the Premier League table and were most recently eliminated from the FA Cup. Yada, yada, yada. They're next back in league action against Brentford on Wednesday evening. Let's just have a quick little look-see at what we're working with here. As this is just compared to midfielders, not specifically 6s. So you're going to be looking at across all the top big 5 leagues, across all midfielders that are attacking 10s and 8s box-to-boxes. This guy obviously plays predominantly in a 6. Sometimes he plays alongside Goretzka in a double pivot. Other times he plays in the solo 6, depending on how Thomas Tuchel lines up. And obviously within this sort of last 365 days, you're also going to be, I think, if I'm not mistaken, if I haven't got my maths out of line, you're also going to be factoring in the way he played under a Nagelsmann system as well, which was slightly different. That had more, it was more of a similar kind of system to the way that Tottenham played. Tottenham play with their wing-backs bombing forward and becoming more forwards or midfielders during the game. But look, his passing range is absolutely just out of this world. Let's have a look at that for a second, shall we? He's in the top 1 percentile for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different attributes related to passes. There isn't someone that's better, or the very few people that are better in the top 5 leagues. And he's also in the top sort of 2 or 3 percentile for several other things here. Passes into the penalty area, passes into the final third, expected assisted goals, long passes, medium passes, short passes. This guy, you put the ball at his feet and it gets to where it's going. He is a brilliant corner taker. He's a brilliant set piece merchant, if you like. And like I say, he chips in with goals and actions that lead to goals or chances. This is always something that's fascinating to look at when you're comparing him to people that play in a 10 that are still considered midfielders, or 8s, box-to-box 8s that are still considered midfielders. And this guy is in the top 4 percentile for shot-creating actions. For shot-creating actions from dead ball passes, i.e. from free kicks. This guy is at the very highest end. Free kick specialist as well, not to be sniffed at. In terms of his defensive responsibilities, look, he's there or thereabouts, top 25 percentile, but obviously Bayern Munich are not naturally going to be on the receiving end of too many chances against them, which allows him to, whilst he sits there and controls, obviously his efforts are mainly with the ball for Bayern Munich, because they're always at the top end of the Bundesliga league table. And so he can defend when absolutely necessary, when called upon to do it. That's why he's in that role. But ultimately, he's a ball-playing machine, a ball-playing master. And this is what we see, that no one averages nearly 100 touches per 90 minutes. He is the controller. He is the conductor of the orchestra for Bayern Munich. I'd be absolutely amazed if there was any truth to this story. The only way I can kind of rationalize it is he's got 18 months left on his contract, and maybe Bayern Munich are looking to kind of raise some money, having just spent a lot of money on, obviously, Harry Kane and some other players. They're also looking for a right back right now that I think they're coming close to finalizing for Sasha Bowie, I believe, from memory. And so maybe they're trying to kind of balance the books, and maybe they feel like they can sort of raise some decent money from Kimmich and still survive and still not be otherwise too badly impacted. Look, for me, if he's going to go to if Liverpool were also an offer, and Liverpool are one defensive midfielder away from being spectacular, Manchester City might also have some say in the argument. And let's be honest, if either of those two come calling, we're probably third choice out of the three. But maybe with Liverpool's future a little bit uncertain, with the knowledge that Jurgen Klopp isn't going to be there, maybe there's something in that story that we can lean into and use leverage. Maybe a conversation with Ange Postecoglou is all that it's going to take. And in terms of Manchester City, look, well, they have got options, but they have just liquidated Calvin Phillips, and so, it's a loan, but it's probably going to become a permanent move from him to West Ham. So maybe they do have space in their squad. We shall see. What I want to say, guys, right, is whilst I think that one's unlikely, excuse me for a second, there's another story out right now, which is on the Athletic, Ornstein's live coverage of the latest stories from Ornstein and the team. And here is one that came out this morning, and it's Jacob Ramsey is leaving Aston Villa. A player generating concrete interest is Villa midfielder Jacob Ramsey, with the England under-21 international catching the attention of numerous clubs in both England and abroad. Newcastle United have made an approach for the 22-year-old as they attempt to bolster Eddie Howe's side, although unless they manage to achieve a significant sale, he is likely to be beyond reach. Tottenham Hotspur and Bayern Munich are also among the sides to have made their admiration for Ramsey clear. So if Villa opt to let the academy graduate exit, they will not be short of takers. That's a big if, because Ramsey has established himself as a key player, and ideally this would not be a consideration, but funds must be raised before the end of June. And, oh, hang on one second. Sorry, lost my train of thought there. Must be raised before the end of June to stay compliant with profit and sustainability rules. And that has alerted suitors who believe offers above £50 million, £63.5 million, will at least be contemplated. Should Villa decide to keep Ramsey, there are other ways in which the money could be found. One of those is John Duran from Aston Villa to Chelsea. But you know what? And also John Duran to West Ham is another story that's lurking around. But we're not going to talk about that because we're a Tottenham channel. So, look, Aaron Ramsey, for me, guys, wonderful talent. Wonderful talent. Really, really powerful player. I love the way that Jacob Ramsey, I'm not sure if it's Jacob or Jacob. For some reason, Jacob rolls off the tongue a little bit more. He hasn't really had too many injury issues to worry about, but for what it's worth, over the last couple of years, shall we say, he's had a couple of sort of shortish spells out during mid-season with a foot injury and a hamstring injury. Look, a very good player that over his years, over his time, he's been utilized in a bunch of different ways. He's been used in a 3-5-2 under the kind of previous regime, and also under Steven Gerrard. He's been used as a 10. He's been used on the right-hand side. He's been used out on the left of a 3 as well at times when they're trying to sort of fit in and amongst John McGinn. He's used as an 8, a box-to-box 8. For me, a powerful runner of the ball, very, very intelligent player, and someone who I think would fit the Tottenham Hotspur system, and as much as his first thought is always, how do I get the ball and progress it forward? Very comfortable, the ball at his feet. He drives with purpose and intent and can break through the tackle. He's press resistant. He also loves to receive the ball facing the goal so he can move the ball forward. And like I say, when Ange Postecoglou is saying that his fundamental mission statement to get through to the team is, when you get the ball, in whatever situation you find yourself in, you need to first be thinking, how can I get this and move it forward? And he is someone that has that kind of instinct naturally. He's also a very, very intelligent player. For someone so young, his ability to read the game, position himself in space, in the half space, is very, very clever. And he's a player that I actually have a lot of admiration for. doesn't necessarily get all the plaudits at Aston Villa, because there's a lot of other people around him that, you know, seem to, the way I kind of feel in the zeitgeist, they seem to get a lot more of the respect and the credit for some of the things that he actually is responsible for starting. He creates the opening gambits, and I'm not entirely sure if the stats really reflect in a perfect way everything that he does. But let's have a quick look. Oh, here we go. Maybe I'm completely wrong. The stats look absolutely fine in terms of his goal creating actions, in terms of the actual output. This is compared to midfielders, and obviously this is the thing. It's a difficult thing to know how to look at, right? With this guy, because he spent a lot of time playing as an 8. Do you compare him to midfielders? He's also spent time playing as that 10 or on the width side. You know, sometimes he plays on the right, sometimes he plays on the left. He's a real utility player. So where do you compare him? And when you change the comparisons, the data looks incredibly different. Versus midfielders, his output in terms of shooting and goal creating actions, etc., is absolutely phenomenal, right? 93 percentile, 95th percentile, 97th percentile for goals plus assists. He's getting a goal or an assist one in every other game. But when you're looking at his passing ratios, there's just not that much, because he's most of the time he's receiving the ball and he's in the bottom 2 percentile versus other midfielders for the actual passes that he's attempting. He's in the bottom percentile for passes attempted. That's because a lot of the time he is being used in a more forward position, and his first thought is to get the ball and drive and run with it and create things. So it's difficult to know what we're comparing him to. As you can see, as you glance down here, as you compare him to midfielders, he shines out amongst them as an attacking creator of chances. When you compare him to attacking midfielders and wingers, everything drops down to be fairly average. His passing still isn't absolutely sensational either in that regard, for what it's worth. But he then is far more recognized and rewarded, statistically speaking, for his defensive work. So it's a bit of an enigma. It's a bit of a hard one to kind of use the stats here to get a gauge on it. So I would encourage you to trust your eye on Jacob Ramsey. And for me, I think the player is very, very talented. He's 22 years old. He comes straight through Aston Villa's youth team. So Aston Villa are, you know, in financial crises, and they are looking for ways to get out of that situation so that they don't face consequences of their actions. Now, again, I'll ask you the question, just like with Chelsea, do you really want to help out a team that's becoming a rival? Would you like to see them, you know, struggle and have to find ways to liquidate assets in other directions? And if so, if it's not to sell it to Tottenham, then are you okay with the idea of them selling one of the players that Tottenham might appreciate having in their squad to somebody else who could then elevate their chances and become a rival in and of themselves? Someone like Newcastle. If Newcastle were to sell an Isaac, if Newcastle were to sell a Callum Wilson or a Joe Linton or whoever, and they were then to use that money, a little bit of that money, to go after someone like a Jacob Ramsey, then are they replacing something like a like for like, but saving some money, getting themselves out of a hole? It's a lot of moving parts, a lot of moving pieces to this kind of thought process. For me, though, I'm a big fan of Ramsey, but again, at £50 million, if that's what the quoted price is, it's a little bit too steep for my liking. Although at 22 years old, the guy's got an incredible trajectory, an incredible amount of time to really develop into the player that I believe he could be. What I want to sort of finish on, guys, I've been going for a long time, but here's the nuts and bolts of it. As I've been saying, none of these transfers are going to happen absent the ability for us to move someone on. We were talking about the last couple of days, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. How do we move Pierre-Emile Højbjerg on if he doesn't want to go to any team other than the very top table, and the top table teams have to want him and be able to afford a price that Tottenham desire for him? You're filtering out 99% of the available clubs. If he doesn't want to go to teams that are of this level, he wants to go to this level, but the vast majority of this level clubs either don't need him or can't afford him. And unfortunately, according to reports, another example has popped up this morning with regards this issue. And Pierre-Emile Højbjerg could have and would be possibly available and of interest to Lyon. Let me see if I can get this up for you. Pause. Plettigol, who's usually quite spot on when it comes to stories. As much as we don't like him, he is usually spot on. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg has been has attracted the admiring glances from Lyon, but Pierre-Emile Højbjerg has rejected Lyon's advances. It is it's a struggle. it's a struggle to know what the best thing to do is here. And this is used as Daily Mail article. I'm not sure if this was written before or after Plettigol's thing, but Tottenham midfield Pierre and HOJBJERG is wanted by Lyon before the window closes, but fee may prove too much for struggling French side. HOJBJERG started just 6 games for Spurs this season. Newcastle are also interested in signing the Danish midfielder on loan. Tottenham midfielder Pierre and HOJBJERG is behind Bentancur and Bissouma in the 6th pecking order at Spurs, meaning just 6 of his 22 appearances this season have been starts. 28-year-old's current contract expires next year, and the North London club may be looking to cash in before then. The Danish international also wants more game time ahead of Euro 2024 this summer. Lyon have endured a miserable campaign so far and have been active in the transfer window as they look to climb out of the League One relegation zone. Newcastle are keen to add to that area this month, but may need to look to a short-term fix to satisfy spending rules unless sales are made. Newcastle don't need money to get on the right side of FFP, but they do if they're going to buy a much-needed midfielder in this window. See, that article's a little bit misleading. They don't need it right now, but according to the reports that I've read, they will need it next year. They're in that breach for next year's numbers, and so that's why a loan may be the right solution for them. Look, this is the problem. This is the problem for me. I've been trying to get that point across to you. I hope it's sinking in when you see these sort of examples. There's 3 elements to a transfer: the buying club, the selling club, and the player. Everyone has to be agreeable. And Pierre HOJBJERG seems to be disagreeable to nearly every opportunity that presents itself. I don't have any problem with him respecting his career and respecting his own talents. He thinks he's good enough to sit and dine at the top table. And you know, I think a lot of clubs at the very best levels admire him. I think a HOJBJERG, I think a Bayern Munich will absolutely admire him. I think there'll be several teams in Italy and in Spain who would look at him and see value because the pace of the game in those countries might be a little bit slower. And also the specifics of the way that certain teams play will suit him more than Tottenham's do. But if they haven't got the money, and Tottenham are not in the business right now of just letting the guy run down the last 18 months of his contract on a loan, then how do we figure this out? It would have to be a loan with a very hefty fee, and those things aren't really that likely when there's only 6 months left in the season. That's more of a kind of annual process. So again, we're caught between a rock and a hard place here. It's a bit of a catch-22, and unfortunately, with him not going out, none of these other players that we're linked with are going to come in. And I forgot to mention, by the way, with Josh Kimmich, if there was some truth to it, the thing, Josh Kimmich for me doesn't play as an 8 or a 10, obviously, even though his stats look phenomenal. You stick him in the 6 if you were to get him in. Obviously, I know this is dream world scenario, and then you obviously then would be able to reposition Bentancur into an 8 and let him compete with Sarr, or let him mix and match in with Josh Kimmich on rotation. And Bissouma could play as an 8. We haven't seen Bissouma in the 8. I've always said I think Bissouma is better as an 8 than a 6, even though he did start this season phenomenally well as a 6. His performances of late, before he went to the AFCON, have left a lot to be desired. So if not HOJBJERG, then where else do we find that space from? Maybe it's Bryan Hill. And there's lots of rumors out right now. I haven't got anything up to show you, but there's lots of rumors percolating around, guys, that Bryan Hill may be willing to leave, that we've reduced his asking price, that we would accept a loan with a healthy loan fee, or we might just accept something as low as £7-8 million. And that has piqued the interest of teams in Spain that don't have a lot of money to spend, but maybe can find a way to structure that particular deal. But for me, it's a real shame. I'm a big fan. I was a huge fan of Bryan Hill. I loved what I saw when he first came in and was hoping that this guy would make it in the Premier League. But, you know, I don't feel like, from what we've seen of him, I don't feel like he's shown enough that he's going to be able to adapt. But I would also be very tolerant of the argument, if you were to make it to me, that he hasn't been given enough of a chance, a consistent run in the game to get himself casually kind of integrated. I think that in order to judge someone, you have to let them settle, play again, kind of get out the creases, if you like. And I don't think we've seen enough of that. So it's a bit of a tricky one. And like I say, I do have a bit of a soft spot for him. So I'm a little bit disappointed if it does end the way it is. But it's looking more and more likely that he may leave the club late. Are we going to get any business done late on this window, guys? The last story I've got for you is WILLIAN PACHO, Frankfurt centre-back. The links are out and about from Sasha Tavalieri again, from Mercato fame, saying that Tottenham are very much interested in this guy. Look, I'll be entirely honest. don't understand the need for more centre-back links. For what it's worth, this guy at the moment is a very interesting centre-back, ball-playing centre-back, very tough in the tackle, very good positional sense. I like the player, but I'm not going to spend any more than 5 seconds talking about it because I just don't understand why we're looking for more centre-backs right now. If I'm entirely honest, I don't really understand why we're looking for more midfielders right now. For the rest of this season, Tottenham, for me, needs something else in the front three. Like, we are struggling to creatively create with our creativity, and I think we've got enough in the midfield to be able to get us through as soon as we get the guys back, Sarr and Bissouma. So, are we really looking for a midfielder now? And let's be honest, you know, Josh Kimmich is incredibly unlikely. Right? Jacob Ramsey is incredibly unlikely. So, are we really looking for a midfielder now? It's like I say, it's the opposite of papering over cracks. It's putting a plaster cast on a paper cut. I don't really feel like we need a short-term solution that leans into long-term problems. You sign players because you need a cover for a couple of games. In 3 weeks' time, we're going to have Bissouma and Sarr back, and our midfield will be fine, absolutely fine. So why are we looking for a midfielder right now? It's a little bit strange. Of course, if the opportunity is there for Josh Kimmich, I'm all over it. Of course I am. We'll find a way to make it work. But for me, if we're looking for anything last minute, it should be some more creativity at the top end of the pitch because it's somewhere where we're really struggling. Let me know your thoughts, guys. WILLIAN, PACHO, take a look at him. If the story link heats up, I'll do more research into him. He's a good player, but I don't get the need to go into it. Josh Kimmich, love it. Is it really realistic? Probably not. Jacob Ramsey, very interesting player, but do we really want to help out a team that's struggling, that's a massive threat? Probably not, but he's a very, very, very strong candidate to be one of the next big names in midfield football in the Premier League over the next 2 or 3 years, and it'd be nice to see him in a Tottenham shirt. What about Pierre-Emile Højbjerg? How do we convince this man to move if he wants to focus on his career, get his European football up, but there's no big names out there that are going to be able to pay the money this late in the window? How do we make that circle squared? Not sure. Let me know, guys. Like, subscribe, and comment. I'll see you for a live stream later on this evening. And as always,